Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, September 22nd. Seeing the hour is now 4 p.m., I call this meeting of the Horry County School Board Policy Committee to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to our second meeting of the 25-26 school year, and I've asked the superintendent to please have Mr. Generette stand by while this meeting is in progress. Mr. Generette, please interrupt this meeting and make any corrections to our parliamentary procedure in the event we make any missteps. I would appreciate that very much. We want to operate according to Robert's Rules of Orders and set an example. So thank you so much. I want to thank the superintendent for his support and yours also, Mr. Generette. First of all, let's confirm that we do have a quorum to conduct business of this committee. Let the minutes show that there are 4 members of the policy committee here today. Ms. Wendy Hodges has just stepped back to the she stepped out for a moment. She'll be back in just a second, but she is here, so we have a quorum to conduct this meeting. So let's quickly go around the room and introduce ourselves, beginning with Ms. Edmonds, please.
Hello, my name is Debbie Edmonds, and I serve District 2, and I am here not on the policy committee, just present. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Winters, I serve District 3, and I am on the policy committee.
Howard Bonder, District 5.
I'm Pam Dawson. I serve District 6, and I'm the chairman of your policy committee.
Janet Graham, District 7 Policy.
James Edwards, District 9.
Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. Let the record show that we have 3 additional board members joining us today. A 4th is in the audience and has politely declined to join us on the dais for participation in this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Ricketts, for being here. Let's move on to item number 2, which is our review and approval of the agenda. Let's just have a quick overview of the agenda first. Our agenda today is going to focus on 4 main areas. We're going to approve our minutes. We have some policy updates on our live streaming of meetings and unencumbered time. We have a review of board superintendent relationships, and then we're going to discuss the creation of board self-assessment survey. So may I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor to approve the agenda, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, agenda is approved. We'll now move on to our minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 25th meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 25th meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none.
I'm sorry. I know the last time we met, we had our work plan that was given to us.
Yes.
And I didn't see it in our minutes. Is that something that we would need to include in the minutes?
We approved the work plan in our September.
It can be added. It can
I
be
think
added. It
that
was
would
part
be
of
good.
the PowerPoint presentation, but it's
Yeah.
a separate document, so it can be added.
Okay, good.
We actually approved the work plan in the board meeting. Whoops. Hang on. I think it was in the September 8th board meeting. Just a moment.
Yeah, because we had a plan like for facilities as well, and they gave us a separate copy, but I didn't remember receiving anything like that. And if I could just have it in here, that would make it easier to keep up with.
It was attached to our September 8th board meeting, and it was presented on it was approved on September 8th at our board meeting.
Okay, well, I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you. It was in your September 8th meeting packet.
Can we add it to this as well?
We'll be glad to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would we like to continue to, Mr. Generette, please advise. We have a question about the minutes. May we proceed with approving the minutes with that question on the table, with the agreement that that document will be provided to Ms. Graham?
The question's been asked and properly answered, so you can proceed.
Thank you so much. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the minutes. Thank you for your question, Ms. Graham. That will be taken care of. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Moving on. Mr. Jones.
Great. Lucas, can you advance it one slide? Thank you. So board members, this is a slide that you're going to become used to because it's helpful for me as your superintendent to go over and over because this is really what is unique about Horry County. It's the coherence governance model structure where you have governance policies that are outlined in its own section of the policy manual that are governed by the board. Tonight, we'll be talking about one of those. Also, you have a whole series of policies under the district policy section that are governed by the superintendent. And then we talked about last time a very natural flow to get feedback related to those district policies. I will tell you today, board members, that we talked about that in cabinet related to some updates to district policy and how do we get those in front of different cabinets so that they can get feedback and awareness, very similar to what we did with attendance. And so I appreciate you all giving me the latitude to have this slide in here. It's a reminder for me and for staff in the community about how unique Horry County Schools is not only the what we do, but how we do it and our roles therein. So thank you, and that's all this is.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate your review of that slide. Now, Mr. Generette, if you will come forward and help us with item number 4A, which is governance live streaming of meetings.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. This is in reference to a part of the policy that the board and boards across South Carolina will need to approve. Is in reference to live streaming of meetings. This was presented at our last board meeting for information during your work session. It'll also be brought forward through policy committee and to the board this evening for your final vote and approval on it. Basically, it is to make sure that all board meetings are accessible to the public via live streamed, and also that it's available to the public on the website within 48 hours after the meeting. You may recall at the last board meeting, there was a suggestion to make to the policy, which would include making sure that if for some reason that the live streaming goes down, that the board or its designee will work on that matter. We've included that language in there. Also, there was a question in reference to use of YouTube as far as another mechanism to have it available to the public, and that is also in the works as well. So that is the information I have for you for live streaming. All boards in the state of South Carolina must approve a policy of this nature by November 5th. Are there any questions?
I hear no questions, Mr. Generette. Thank you so much. Procedurally, let me understand a little more clearly. Do we at this policy committee meeting at this point need to take a vote to recommend to the full board? It is on the full board agenda as a business item tonight.
I would say that you do that. So it is, again, noted that it went through policy committee and is forwarded in reporting, but also on the agenda for tonight.
Thank you so much. Hearing that, I will now entertain a motion from any policy committee members to approve the live streaming policy as proposed.
Second.
Ms. Graham made the motion, Ms. Hodges seconded. Is there any discussion? Ms. Hodges?
When will the YouTube channel start posting? Do we have that information?
We will try to make sure that it meets within the 48-hour period as stated with this policy. So it'd be within the 48 hours of the meeting to make sure it's posted.
Okay, and I do think that's a great idea because I found myself a couple weeks ago trying to find a meeting, and I had to think, okay, what subject would it, which sub-subject would it be listed under? So I think that'll be a great idea and help more people to have accessibility.
Thank you so much. So we have had a motion and a second and some discussion. It is now time for a vote. Please, all in favor, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the motion to recommend approval to the full board of the proposed live streaming policy has now passed. Thank you. Mr. Generette, now move on to unencumbered time, please.
Yes, ma'am. Unencumbered time, let me briefly share with you where we are with this item. To incorporate an unencumbered time policy that is out there for all school boards and school districts, there is Proviso 1.105, which states that in your existing unencumbered time policies, that you will also make a change effective July 1, 2026, to include school nurses to have 30 minutes of unencumbered time during the school day. The caveat is unless there is a medical emergency that arises. So we will be working on that aspect as well. We will also be reviewing a model policy that has already been distributed to school districts and school boards across the state to make sure it is what we need here. Typically, the model policy is what school boards and school districts follow, so we just want to take that opportunity to review that. And again, this will be effective July 1, 2026. So we'll be back with you with a draft of that model policy as it suits Horry County Schools. Any
Thank you,
questions?
Mr. Generette. Are there any questions for Mr. Generette regarding unencumbered time policy? It's my understanding this is just to add the nurses.
Right, 30 minutes for the nurses.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, it's
have a
now.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you, Mr. Edwards. I apologize.
Madam Chair, the teacher portion of this that we already have in place, that includes all levels of teachers, correct? Or is that just at the elementary level?
I thought it was elementary and it was special ed teachers. I don't know if it's all teachers or not. I'll double check.
It's just
on that.
elementary and special ed, correct?
Right, it was specialized areas, but I'll double check on that.
Okay.
Let us get back to you to make sure we're accurate.
Thank you so much, Mr. Generette. We appreciate that information. Now, Mr. Jones, if you will help us
Yep.
discuss item number 5.
So, board members, we're going to have a series of slides and an activity. This is where I'm going to need to get, and it's really hard in this setting, but we're going to talk about some policies. We're going to do some independent read activities. We're going to take some of our letters training. We're going to utilize it with some of our policy documentation here in a second. But if I'm sitting where you are, the question I have in my mind is, why is Mr. Jones doing this? Why is he going outside of what we normally do? We've done this before. We did it last year. Maybe this isn't the way we did it. And so in my mind, here are some of the reasons why. I like to start with the why we're doing something, especially with adult learners. So to hear us and talk about policy around the dais is really important for staff. Staff is taking their lead, not just from the words on the page, but also the discussion and the values that come out as we discuss these policies. It's really important for staff to hear this. The second is public transparency. You know, as a board member, the 3 biggest things: you hire a superintendent, you give them policy, you make a budget, and you oversee curriculum, right? This is one of the big items. And so that transparency that we talk about this, going sometimes in depth, maybe multiple policy committees in a row with one policy, that's part of this. The third is to ensure that staff can make sure the practice aligns with not only the verbiage in the policy, but the spirit behind the policy. And so, yes, we are going, and I'm going to lead it. And I know that might be a little different, but I think this is really at the heart of strengthening our foundational focus around policy. And if I'm sitting where you are, those would be my reasons why.
You are not going to make us do round robin reading, are you?
Ms. Hodges, I do not utilize round robin reading. We know that that is not a strategy, that is evidence-based. But good question.
We know that has caused trauma amongst some people in
Good
their
question.
lives.
Good question. All right, next slide. So, last time we met, we had this slide, and I'm going to be using a lot of times stock slides, but going back to them and updating them. We talked about how our governance policies have 5 different sections. Today, we're going to go into one of those sections. It's in blue, right? It's called Board Superintendent Relations. And in that section, we are going to look at 4 different policies in that section and ask ourselves these questions. And I'm going to read them out loud. Is this policy consistent with our bylaws? Ethical, whatever bylaws you feel like you're operating under, are they consistent? Next, has it been reviewed by legal? That's why Mr. Generette is part of the policy committee right here. All across the nation, this is how it's done, right? Is it understood? Remember, we want our policies to be clear and understood, because if we're outside of policy, we're outside the boundaries that you've set for me. And that's a problem. Next, is this clearly governance versus district? This is a very unique question to our framework. That's why I keep going back to, we've got to decide where does it land? Does it land with the board, or does it land with the superintendent? And then the final category is alignment, and does it reflect our values? We had a really rich discussion about this at Cabinet this morning, about our values. And I asked them, when was the last time we looked at our values? Right? Because we have them in Horry County. When was the last time we looked at them? And I just think that if we ask ourselves that, does it reflect our values as a team? That's really going to be coherence governance. Is it producing intended results? Right? So if you've read any book about coherent governance, it's all about student results. It's all about having that curriculum committee lead with data to inform practices and discussions that then are reflected in policy. And so those are the 3 categories I'm going to ask you to keep in mind as we get ready to look at a couple of different policies. And I'll have it on the screen, so I won't take it away. Next one. All right. So here's our protocol. We're going to ask ourselves those 3 categories. Remember, I just read them. They're up there. And we're going to look at, first, we're going to look at GC1. You should have gotten a handout, GC1, if you're watching on the screen. GC1 is the governance culture around the, and I'll just read some of it. It is the Horry County Board of Education represents and leads, serves the children and citizens of Horry County, and holds itself accountable to them by committing to act in their best interests, by assuring that all board and organizational actions are consistent with state and federal laws and board policies. That's where it begins. And then you can see it talks about values. Remember, that was one of the big categories I just talked about. And so what I'd like you to do for 90 seconds is think about, is it legal? Is it clear? Is it aligned? Is it legal? Is it clear? And is it aligned? 90 seconds. 30 more seconds. Is it legal? Is it clear? Is it aligned?
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
Perhaps I was asleep at the wheel. Okay, so are we reviewing board superintendent relations or GC, governance culture?
You were not asleep at the wheel. It was a sleight of hand. We are going to be utilizing this as an example.
Okay, and the other question was, why did we not start with governance culture instead of superintendent board? I mean, yeah.
Why did we
relationship.
start with this one?
Yeah,
We're going to talk about surveys.
okay.
So this is an example. This is not, this is. we're-
Foundational, you're just laying groundwork for
I'm
how we're going to go
I'm
forward.
utilizing
Gotcha.
groundwork,
Okay,
right?
all right.
So let me be clear. I'm utilizing this as an example to take it nice and slow, right? And then we'll get into the board superintendent relation. I picked this one as an example one because it talked about a survey, and we're talking about a survey after this.
All right.
Yep. All right, so now you've had a little bit of time to look through it. This is our example. Is it legal? Is it clear? And is it aligned? Those are the three things I asked. This is where it gets a little complicated. If you agree to all those three, then it would be good. Good as is. Right? The next thing you would say is, Mr. Jones, I have some feedback for you and staff to look at. Right? That feedback might include anything from, I've got questions about its legality. Can we review it based on X? I've heard, I've seen, I've experienced, or it's not very clear. I'm a layperson. I don't understand this word. Why are we using an acronym in there when we could just say what it is? Or that policy, Mr. Jones, is not aligned to where we are. It's aligned to our past. We would make edits. We'd come back to you as a board. The other category that you could pick as a board member, Mr. Jones, there's not room for this. We got to start over. Right? We've got to start over. So, good as is, and that would be through discussion and looking around and getting head nods, right? There's some edits that might be needed. Staff needs to come back. This needs to go to our next meeting so that staff can come back and maybe bring some new verbiage, new ideas, or I've been waiting for you to bring that one up, Mr. Jones, because that one doesn't work, right? So let's look at this. I'm going to get your feedback. Is it legal? Is it clear? Is it aligned? Thoughts?
Policy committee members, thoughts on this exercise, particularly as related to GC1?
Well, unfortunately, I was not at the retreat last week because I was out of town, so hopefully I'm understanding and I didn't miss anything that was based on this. Okay, so like, for example, we take responsibility for the success of all students. I mean, we do, and we want them to be successful, but as a school board, are we really directly, we're overseeing the policies that the superintendent is implementing. And so we are not really directly taking responsibility of the students directly. That would be more in our setting goals for you, and then you're ultimately responsible, and we take it from there. Is this the kind of feedback
Yes.
that we're looking for? Because this is a new activity.
Yeah, so, board members, what I'm hearing is going back to who's your sole employee? Me, right? And then looking at, well, who's in charge of the governance culture? Me, right? We can talk about our values related to that, which it seems like at some point we did. But what I'm hearing is this level of accountability might be missing. Where's, Mr. Jones, where's your accountability? Right, as our sole employee, which is great. That's great feedback, Ms. Hodges. That's perfect.
I might just comment that I've reviewed some other districts' policies, and in their district policies are far more robust in this regard. Inasmuch as they are far more specific in their language in this section that says this is done through and it does say this here in the second paragraph about we are to assure the results described in the results policies and the operational expectation policies. In this section, it doesn't provide the methodology for that, but we do have that methodology within our monitoring process on the work plan. The thing that concerns me is the last paragraph where it talks about the board self-assessment, and this is what leads and transitions so nicely into our next discussion, which we do not currently have in place a very clear-cut methodology, or we don't have a good self-assessment format that everyone is comfortable with using at this point, or the venue in which that should take place, the methodologies to be used, the data collection, the analysis, and what to do with the data collected. So in my view, that's the area, or one of the areas, that we need to focus as a board so that we hold ourselves accountable through self-assessments to optimize our performance, thereby optimizing the superintendent's performance. Any comments?
Yes, ma'am. Before we talk about the survey, I did have a question about the board governance, and if our superintendent could go back and restate what he said, because I thought I heard him say that he is over board governance. But that could not be. I must have been asleep again.
I'm leading this discussion to hear you all,
Right?
to bring in the edits that might be possible so that Mr. Generette and I can work on these to make sure that they're pushed out to our staff
Got it.
in ways, since I'm your employee, I've picked to insert myself into this,
Okay.
because it's that important.
Okay.
And there's not that, so, board members, there's not that many policies that we need to go through either.
True.
Right? So we can do this.
Right, okay, I thank you for the clarification.
yeah.
The other thing is about what you said about the survey. And you said we didn't have one, we did one.
We do.
And it's the first I'm hearing that there were issues. So when would we or will we have a discussion about that? Or are we going to just do a new one? Well, tweak what we have, start over, or discuss?
So we are going to look to other districts for other examples, for exemplars. Come back, present a new format based on what we hear. That is more focused and less subjective.
Gotcha. That makes sense. The other thing is, in a couple of weeks, we will be attending Philadelphia, where we're going over surveys.
That's right.
And will we at that time also look at other examples, other samples, get information?
So let me share with all the board and whoever's listening, we've decided to take an improvement posture and go seek out from other districts how they're doing surveys and self-assessments, utilizing us as the problem of practice. We would like to learn from you all. right? And I think that that's very transparent and very growth-oriented. I lift this board up for putting our, it will make us better, hearing the answers that we will be given. But we had to ask. We have to sit and hear and have this discussion. And we will be doing that with a number of different districts who have this type of coherent governance structure.
Okay, when I hear district, sometimes I limit myself to South Carolina. But this is a national,
This is national.
so
That's
that is
right.
very important that we
Yep.
make that clear.
Yeah, very much so. There's only one other district that I'm aware of that has the coherence in South Carolina. And so we are having to seek outside of South Carolina to better understand how we can utilize this to better our students' achievements.
Thank you.
So board members, this is clunky, right? You're looking at me like, we don't do this, Mr. Jones. This is not how we work. Here's what I'm asking you to do. We're not going to go too fast. When we go back to the policy book and we look at BS 01 and its 2 sentences, and we look at legality, clarity, and alignment, trust me, that one, we'll be able to go a little faster. It's clunky because we're just starting this. This is the way to review policy, right? And here's my commitment to you all. If this doesn't work, we'll get another way, right? If this doesn't work, we'll get another way. I promise you. But getting feedback, I don't want to assign homework for us to do. I would rather us just take a couple of policies every time we meet as a committee, look at them through legality, clarity, and alignment, and have a discussion. And we will get through all of them, I promise. It's very doable because we've done so much work in the past. You'll see last reviewed, it might be like last year, right? So it might be in a good place. All right. Here's what I'm going to ask.
Yes, sir.
The last paragraph makes it so we're not in alignment. I don't know why we are afraid to do that. There's no impetus on the board to get that done. So that tells me you need to make a major edit and pull that paragraph out. If we're not going to do it, you don't need it in there. Either we do what it says we do, or you edit it out. We're not abiding by what our own policy is. I don't understand that.
Mr. Barnard, I appreciate your comment, and your point is well taken. We are not on schedule, nor were we on schedule last year with the board self-assessments that were supposed to have been performed at each of the policy sections. In the coherent governance documentation that I've studied, there is a recommended plan where at each policy committee meeting, just as Mr. Jones suggests, we take a couple of policies. Every coherent governance district that adheres to the recommended methodologies does so. They spend each meeting, there's dedicated time toward doing these assessments on selected policies. I agree wholeheartedly that we are not on schedule, and I would recommend that we revise the schedule. This one says it's in January, but as I pointed out, we had the GC6 section that was due in August 11th that has not been done because we do not have a methodology in place. So I don't think there's an appetite to just not do board self-assessments. It's my perception that there is willingness to do that, but it's the tools and the scheduling that seems to be our roadblocks at this point, and I believe that's what we are trying to resolve when we attend the conference and there are 5 board members going. That is a topic at the conference in the problem of practice.
So, Mr. Barnard, I just want to lift up the fact that board members, we can change our strategies.
I certainly understand that, but
Yeah.
we are not following a governance model. We have some hybrid model, and that, like I've said before, I don't have a problem necessarily with the model we're using. It works. But we need to change this to model what we're doing, and we're not doing that. We have a policy that says we are running a governance model. We're not running a governance model. Governance model, we wouldn't have these type meetings. There are no committee meetings under a governance meeting the way I understand it. I just don't understand why we haven't fixed that.
So,
Is that not what we're doing?
so, Mr. Barnard, I just want to reflect the fact that we are committed to fixing it. Whether that be changing some of the verbiage and some of the practices, understanding some of the best practices out there. You have my commitment and what I feel like is the commitment of this policy committee to really lean into that. Because there's a lot of promise for students in getting this right.
I wanted to add that I think that's why we're here now, trying to align and get everything in order. Because there are a lot of pieces that need to come into alignment to feed into everything, results, everything. So I think that, to me, that's why we're here, is to find these things that don't align and fix it. And of course, there's going to be some, but I can't wait to see what we find out in Philadelphia. I'm excited about that.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes, so I know being a newer school board member, whenever we did the self-assessment, I had several questions, and having been a former teacher, I found that the open-ended questions caused me a lot of questioning within myself, whereas if I would have had a 1 to 5 on every question, it would have been a lot easier for me. But you know, the open-ended, and I'm assuming that whenever we go to evaluate the self-assessments, that it will be a lot easier if we have a 1 to 5 rubric for everything. So I'm hopeful that when all of you go to the conference, that you'll find a tool, because I know there probably is no perfect tool, but if we just have one to start, it would be helpful for the growth of all of the members and for discussion. But having had a self-assessment that has not been evaluated at this point is not only a waste of time, but it's not providing us any growth. So we may not have the perfect self-assessment, but if we can find something, or you all that are going to the conference can come back with something for us so that we can evaluate how we're doing, I would be really excited.
That is the goal.
Yes.
We do have one issue, and that is time required to do the actual work and evaluate the results. This board has made it clear that its preference is to do work within a retreat or work session environment and not necessarily have homework. So trying to balance the wishes of the board with what might actually, and we don't know yet, we will learn how other districts effectively do this, and we also have to comply with our other state and federal policies. So we need to make sure that we're doing it transparently. We need to make sure that we're able to evaluate the results, incorporate them. Just as Mr. Barnard pointed out, we're not adhering to this. Our practice has not complied with the policy for quite some time, and we've just let it slide. We're trying to fix that. So that is the goal. Thank you.
This robust discussion is good. Trust me. This is how we get better. And I appreciate y'all trusting me enough to have this. So let's do this. Let's go to the first policy in the board governance, board superintendent relations. It's BSR 01. It's 2 lines. So as we think about legal, clear, aligned, the superintendent is the board's sole point of connection to the operational organization. The board will direct the operational organization only through the superintendent. I would love to get your feedback on, do you feel like it's compliant, legal, clear, and aligned?
I have a comment, but I want others to go first. Are there any comments from others?
I have comments.
Ms. Graham?
I think it's perfectly clear. It is to me, and that means a lot. That means it's clear to everybody. There's only 2 sentences. It's very point blank. I don't think there are any questions asked. You are our sole employee. We are not to try to direct operations, only you. That's your job. We direct you, you direct everything else.
Any other comments? Ms. Graham, did that conclude?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Any other comments from others? My observation is that we are not aligned in practice, because I know myself, I've picked up the phone and contacted one of the chief officers for something, when in fact this tells me clearly that all of my contacts should go through the superintendent unless he has directed me to do otherwise, to seek further information. He needs to know what's going on with staff. So the issue becomes to me, I'm aware that some members of the board, because of their historical relationships with others, have opportunity to not necessarily direct, but interface that could possibly be interpreted as direction at other levels other than the superintendent. So, Mr. Superintendent, if you would clarify for us how practically and in practice we're to take care of those things.
Well, there's 2 important verbs to distinguish. The first verb is to direct. You directing me as your sole point of contact is very different than the other verb, which is have a question, right? If I'm going to ask you a question, is that asking part is different than directing. Direct you to operational, what does it say, operational organization versus asking a question to the organization, that verb is really important, right? And in no way here does it say that you can't ask a question. It just says you can't direct that person to do something, you're just asking them a question. So I hope that answers how I see it. And how comfortable I feel with this board understanding the difference between directing and asking.
And I appreciate that clarification. Does anyone else require clarification, Ms. Graham?
Thank you, that helped a lot. I think in the past, the asking has been an issue because the asking has gotten out of hand, and sometimes the ask can be a big ask, A-S-K, a big ask. You know, if I'm asking for all this data like we just got today in curriculum, and I'm just asking your people for that, and you don't know anything about that, that's a big, you know, that's a lot. So, you know, common sense, to me, that would come through. You need to know about that. But if I'm asking, you know, are we getting the updated data? That's one thing. But I can ask in a way that kind of directs as well.
Mr. Edwards?
I would like to piggyback on your comments. From time to time, I think I have asked a question, but I've always included a copy of my ask to the superintendent. And I felt like it would be his protocol to tell me if I'm out of line in my ask or to modify that ask. Okay? So just from a common sense standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Barner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've spoken to the superintendent about this. And like Mr. James, most of the and it doesn't happen that often, but occasionally I get a constituent that's very upset about something. And I know Velna knows the answer, or Velna, as we all know, she don't like me to say this, but she's the best smoozer we have in the district. What I do is I send Velna a message and I info the superintendent, just like you do, James. If he doesn't want her to do that, all he has to do is say, no, I got this. But he's never done that, and I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of that. Those are very rare, and in most cases, Velna answers the question within an hour or so, answers that constituent who's very upset, and in most cases, Velna's already talked to that person already. So I'm pleased with that relationship, and I promise you, I won't ever talk to or send a message without infoing you anyway. So
What's great about this board, and I'll just tell you, is that common sense doesn't always have to be written. It's the practicality of what you are already doing to help run this district, right? And so what you've heard today is those practices that aren't necessarily outlined in this, but are in place, right? And so we already understand the difference. Now, what I will say is this is not complete, and that's why there's another one, right? This is where it starts, and then there's another one after. So let me go back to this, and I look at my three. I tried to make it real easy. Are we good with this, right? Does it need some edits, or do we need to scrap it? I did not hear number 3. I didn't hear scrap this. Like, what I heard was mainly 1 and 2, but I'll leave it. What did you hear?
I would agree with you, but again, we're into the issue of not complying with our board self-assessment, and I'll take this opportunity just to say the following. Our annual work plan for 25 and 26 has, I believe it's 14 self-assessments that are due on January 12th. So if we might want to revisit that schedule. Once we have the tools in place, we might want to go back and revisit that schedule, amend the work plan, amend each of the policies that designate when those, and I know we did this when Ms. Graham was chair. We made that amendment to this policy to, not necessarily this one, but some policies as to when the self-assessments were performed. But we should certainly align the schedule of our assessments with our work plan. And right now, these 14 self-assessments on one day, we don't have a time slot. That would take far more than a 1-hour policy committee meeting. It would take a lot of time during a board work session. So is it practical to do that? Is it aligned with what could be practiced?
So we've heard a lot today about the non-alignment and the practice issues of surveys. So let me come back to this group after we go to Philadelphia with some clarity around answers to that, because as long as this committee is open to going back to the work plan, if that's not going to be an albatross around our neck, right? If we're going to be flexible enough to be, all right, we need to go back to that and make some adjustments. If those are the head nods I'm getting, then that helps a lot. Then we have to go back to the policies that they belong to and see if they actually fit as well. So I'm seeing a lot of positivity around that. Going back to, are we good with this one policy? 2 sentences. Superintendent is your sole point of contact.
I'm good.
I am good, and thank you for the clarification.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is, because we only got 10 more minutes, right? We are experts now, right? We did it once for practice, and we did it once for real. We're experts at this. If you have comments or feedback for me, and I'll be happy to get that, either through email or call or what have you. But I would like to continue this type of thing to look at the next policy, which would be BSR-02 at our next meeting. Now that we're experts, we're certified policy reviewers. I like it.
I'd like to hear specific. Tracy, are you okay with this approach? Ms. Hodges, you're
Yes,
okay?
I
Ms.
am.
Hurd?
Yeah, it would have been good to have had some of this to review before we got here. I like to,
Understood.
yeah.
Good point. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
good.
Lucas, can you hit the next slide for us? We've talked a lot today about survey creation. I wanted y'all to know that that was foremost in our mind going into this meeting. And so we know that that's an issue, and we are stepping into that. We're not stepping away from it, right? And so my commitment to this board is to bring back some of the best examples of this so that we can review it. I heard you loud and clear around maybe some Likert 1 through 5s rather than open. Simple, direct, just-in-time feedback is the best way to do this. You know, I'm not going to spend too much time because we've already talked a lot about surveys, but this is something that you will hear at our next meeting to have a longer, more in-depth conversation on. So thank you in each of your ways of bringing this forward.
Thank you. May we move on with the agenda now?
Please.
Our next item is the creation of survey for GC6. I honestly think that we've already discussed that and covered it in this previous conversation. Are we agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is now time for our adjournment. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.